Alright boys, Trials is back on the menu, and let me tell you, it's looking real good right now. Everything from the new armor, the new weapons, new maps, the new update on power levels within the Trials and how that's going to work, and Saint narrating the matches. Oh boy, my body is ready. First off, sorry, this video was originally supposed to go up the night that Trials got announced, but my big brain and I, okay, big brain move, thought that they may end up giving us more information by the time the TWAB came out last night. And guess what? That's exactly what they did. So in this video, I'm going to tell you absolutely everything you need to know about the upcoming Trials of Osiris. Whether you're a new player, a returning player, a veteran player, if you've played the Trials before in Destiny 1, if you haven't, you're going to learn absolutely everything. But before we do get started, if you're new and only if you enjoy the videos, then be sure to subscribe. Okay, only if you enjoy the videos, then subscribe. Okay, that's my only requirement. It's only if you enjoy the videos. If you don't like them, don't subscribe. Also, when Trials got announced a few nights back, not trying to flex or anything, but I was one of the first to do a full trailer breakdown over on twitch.tv/myfi with an underscore at the end. So if you want to go over and drop your boy a follow, I promise you won't regret it. We have a great time over there. Go out, drop a follow, stop by the stream. I promise you, you'll enjoy yourself. Okay, let's get into it. So first off, what is Trials? Because I know a lot of players actually have no idea, and to me that's crazy, but I have to remember that not everyone playing Destiny 2 played Destiny 1. Like in the live stream the other night when we were doing the breakdown, I had so many people come in asking, what is Trials? What is this? Why is everyone getting pumped for this? All that good stuff. And I had to explain to each and every one of them what Trials was. So my question here is, where are my Destiny 1 people at? If you played Destiny 1 Trials back in the day, I want to know. Let me know in the comment section. Now, what is Trials? Trials use the elimination game type. Entrance into the Trials required a Trials passage, which could be purchased from Brother Vance. Yes, the same Brother Vance that is on Mercury, that is obsessed with Osiris still, for 500 Glimmer. Once a Trials passage accumulated 3 losses, the passage would no longer grant admission into the Trials. In order to continue competing in the Trials of Osiris, a new Trials passage would need to be purchased. If a Guardian quit or disconnected from a match before it is completed, a loss was added to the Trials passage. In year 1 of Destiny 1, Guardians could use passage coins to purchase boons from Brother Vance that would aid in obtaining the most wins possible. However, in year 3 of Destiny 1, boons were made obsolete as Guardians were able to inspect their Trials passage to purchase modifications that would grant the same effect that boons did. Now, just to kind of recap that real quick, the elimination game type is what's used in Trials. So we have elimination now. So if you want to go start practicing, you can. Elimination is in the game. If you lost, or not lost, but if you quit or disconnected, then it would count as a loss. Same way that, games work now. If you're playing competitive, if you just, rip the Ethernet cord out of the back of your Xbox or something like that, then you disconnect, well, it's going to count as a loss. If you quit, it's going to count as a loss. Same thing happened in the Trials, but this time it's being counted. Speaking of being counted, the Trials passage. Think of the Trials passage as like a scorecard. Okay, it's going to keep track of how many wins you have and how many losses you have. If you get to 3 losses, well, your Trials passage will no longer let you access Trials. Like literally, if you try to click on it, it's going to tell you Trials passage required. And if it has 3, well, then you're going to have to go get a new one and retry to get those 9 wins to get to the Lighthouse. Now we'll get into the Lighthouse in just a second and what all that means. Now, what are boons? And the only reason I'm going to discuss boons is because there's a high chance boons will be returning. The first boon was called the Favor of Osiris, and this is where you would start Trials of Osiris with a win. So say you went out, you got a Trials passage, and it had, no wins, no losses on it. And then you bought the Favor of Osiris. Well, now you have 1 win. You didn't even have to play a game. Now, the next one is called the Mercy of Osiris. Now, this one stated that your first loss is forgiven, meaning say you're on a 4 or 5 win streak, okay, you have no losses, and then you lose. Well, as long as you bought this Mercy of Osiris before that game, well, your first loss is going to be forgiven, meaning that loss you just got, which was your first loss, it's not going to go on your Trials passage, okay? It's going to act like it was never there. Now for the Boon of Osiris. Winning your first match awards a bonus win. So say you go out, you get a Trials passage, okay, it has no wins, no losses, you don't buy any other boon, the only boon you buy is called the Boon of Osiris. Now you go out and you win that first match. Instead of it just counting as 1 win on your Trials passage, now it's going to count as 2 wins, but you only played 1 game. That's how boons work, and in my opinion, I think boons will definitely be returning. Now, level advantages were enabled and teammate matchmaking was disabled, so Guardians would need to form their own fire teams. Teams were matched against each other depending on connection and the number of wins on their Trials passage. Now, this was super debated back in the day if this was true or not, as some people still got really laggy matches. Some people that were, say, on their first or second win and they were trying to get, to the Lighthouse would get matched up with someone on like their 7th or 8th win. Okay, it made no sense, but that's how it was supposed to work. And I'm assuming, well, I'm not assuming that actually is how it's going to work this time around as well. We've already got confirmation from Bungie. You are going to be matched up depending on connection and the amount of wins on your Trials passage. Now, if that will actually stay true, I'm not sure. As in, sometimes when I play competitive, you're supposed to be matched with people around your, survival score, the 0 out of 5,500. And I swear I'll be playing people that are like, I don't know, like 5,500 and I'm at like 2,000. So yeah, there's that. I don't know if that's actually going to work, but that's what they say is going to happen. Now, each match would take place on the same map in a given week. Each week meaning Friday at reset through Tuesday at reset. Yes, that means Trials was only available for 3 days. It's here the same time Xur is here, so if you want to think about it like that, whenever Xur is here, Trials will be here. The map rotated every week. Now, what this means is that, say the map of the week chosen by Bungie is, let's say, the new returning map called Cauldron, okay? Every single Trials match you play from that Friday at reset to Tuesday at reset, you're only going to play Cauldron. And then the next week, they'll choose a different map. It's pretty much just like they give you a map and then everyone plays on it. And that's the only map you can play until the next weekly rotation of Trials. Now, Guardians who accumulated 9 wins and 0 losses on a single Trials passage would be able to travel to the Lighthouse, a location on Mercury that contains exclusive loot. So you get 9 wins, you don't lose a single match. That's what's called like a flawless card or a Lighthouse run, okay? You're now going to be able to go to the Lighthouse. Back in Destiny 1, Mercury wasn't an actual planet that you could go to, so it would just appear above the tower and then you could fly in. That was the only way to get to Mercury back in the day, but of course now we actually have Mercury, so I'm curious as how this is going to work on the map and whatnot, but that's besides the point. Access to this area would remain open until Tuesday reset, and Guardians could only obtain rewards from the Lighthouse once per week per character. So say on Friday, your team, you go flawless. Okay, now you get that little special location that you can travel to that was above the tower back in Destiny 1. Well, now you can continue to go there all week just to kind of see it, walk around, explore it, because there was some secrets there, but you couldn't get any other rewards. Okay, you could only get one set of rewards per week per character from the Lighthouse. Now, what happens when you don't get 9 wins and 0 losses? So say you got 7 wins and 1 loss. Well, you aren't going to the Lighthouse, that's for sure, but you would still get rewards for participating in the form of Trials armor or Trials weapons at certain wins on your passage. So say at win 6, you would get, a helmet, or, at win like 3, you would get a weapon. You were still rewarded for participating, but you just wouldn't get that exclusive loot that was only available at the Lighthouse. A lot of how it worked in Destiny 1 will remain the same in Destiny 2. The only exception is whether boons are returning or not, which I think they will be, and who the Trials vendor will be, and how we will purchase our Trials passage. That's the only thing that I can really think of. Everything else they've pretty much already confirmed is going to stay the same. Now let's go ahead and go over what we know so far with the upcoming release of Trials in Destiny 2. Trials of Osiris is returning to Destiny 2 on March 13th, following the release of the new season named Season of the Worthy. Yes, we have the official season name now. It is going to follow the same style that Destiny 1 did, using an elimination game type. It's going to be power level enabled, but as of an update brought to us by the Lord and Savior Luke Smith last night on Twitter, the level provided by the seasonal artifact will not count, which to me is a good thing. You know how you can be like 970 power, which right now is the pinnacle cap, so you can only get armor up to 970, but then your artifact can give you a power boost. Well, that power boost is no longer going to count within the Trials of Osiris. Now, if power level provided by the seasonal artifact was allowed, well, people would just be farming bounties, trying to get their light as high as possible for an easy trip to the Lighthouse, which in my opinion takes the skill to win 9 games in a row out of the picture and replaces it with the, oh, who can farm the most XP leading up to Trials every Friday. But let me know your thoughts on the seasonal artifact being disabled in the comment section below. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? I personally agree with it. As well, someone could spend, 200 hours in a week. Is there even 200 hours in a week? I don't think there's even 200 hours in a week. You know what I mean. To get as much XP as possible, to get their seasonal artifact as high as possible, give them like a massive 100 plus level boost, and then they would just wreck everyone in the Trials, even if they didn't have any sort of skill, team composition, map awareness, anything. They could just destroy everyone because they're doing so much more damage and they're taking so little damage. From here, we also get a look at the new Trials armor. But if you played Trials in year 1 of Destiny 1, well, this armor isn't new to you. To keep it real, this armor was tied with the year 3 Destiny 1 Trials armor for the best looking to me, but nonetheless, it's still super cool, but it gets even better. Upon obtaining a trip to the Lighthouse on a given week, the Trials armor will begin to glow, letting other players know that you went flawless that week. Now, because we know that the armor will begin to glow up on a Lighthouse visit, this raises the question of how the armor itself is obtained. I'm betting on them following the same format they did in Destiny 1, where at certain wins on a passage, you were rewarded with armor. This makes the most sense to me, as then anyone can obtain the armor, but only someone with the skill to get to the Lighthouse can unlock the armor's true form and make it glow. Now, getting into the weapons, and this is where it becomes a little fuzzy in terms of what we know as concrete, facts. What we know is that there will be Trials themed weapons, that is for sure. Now, back in Destiny 1, there were 2 versions of every kinetic Trials weapon. The first one was just the regular version that you would get at a certain win on a Trials passage, but then if you made it to the Lighthouse, you could obtain the same weapon, but it would have in brackets the word Adept next to the gun's name. Now, in year 1 of Destiny 1, the Adept version of the weapon had an elemental burn compared to the normal version, which was just kinetic. But in year 2 of Destiny 1, the elemental burn was taken off the Adept version, leaving the only difference between the 2 versions being that one said Adept and showed other players that you went to the Lighthouse, and the other, well, it just didn't have the word Adept after it. But here in Destiny 2, well, we can't get elemental burn weapons in our kinetic slot because, well, they're kinetic, but I digress. The Trials weapons we can see are as follows: a shotgun, a scout, a sniper, an auto rifle, a fusion rifle, and a hand cannon. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you all to take your guess as to whether some of these weapons are old trial weapons we've seen in Destiny 1 being brought back. Doctor of Passing, it's right there. And now for the new/returning maps. Bungie showed us 3 maps that will be returning with the Trials and Season of the Worthy. Now remember, one map is chosen every week, and that's the only map you will play on all weekend in the Trials. The first map returning is Exodus Blue. Now, if I remember correctly, back in the D1 days, this was one of the PS4 exclusives, and well, with your boy playing on Xbox back then, I don't have much to say about this map because I never really played it. Thank God exclusives are no longer a thing. Next is Anomaly, which is a fan favorite. Tight corridors in the center of the map for close range shotgun fights, and medium to long range areas on the outside of the map, making snipers viable. All around a great map, and I'm very happy to see it returning. And finally, Cauldron. Cauldron and I have a mixed relationship, as on one hand I loved the map, but on the other hand I hated it. It had a smaller enclosed room in the middle for close range engagement, with a staircase that led up to the outside area where a lot of longer range fights would take place. Like I said, I hated it, I loved it, mixed relationship. It's whatever. Now, I'm not going to give my final opinions on these maps returning, as well Destiny 2 plays very different than Destiny 1, especially on PC. So until we get our hands on these maps, I'm just going to say it's great we're getting some fan favorites returning. And finally, the big one, being Saint 14 appears to be the announcer inside of Trials. Okay, it's not that big, but this also raises the question as to whether he'll also be the vendor, and well, if you ask me, I think he will be, as well he's surrounded by Trials of Osiris decorations in the tower, and it just makes the most sense. Sorry, Vance. And there we go. Now I need some feedback from you all. What else do you all need to know? Ask away in the comment section below. I will answer everything. And also, what are your opinions on the upcoming Trials of Osiris? Are you excited for the return? Will this be your first time ever playing Trials? Or are you an OG Trials player from back in D1? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. With all that being said, if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to drop a like, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.